A young man was standing inside the Greyhound bathroom at the Monroeville Park and Ride at 4:11 in the afternoon on the last Friday of October. He was taking off a hoodie. He folded it carefully, as if he were folding a flag. He set it on top of a duffel bag that had nothing in it but 2 bricks and a pair of his own boxers, the only clothes that still smelled like him. He left the bag in the stall. He pulled on a different jacket, grey, ordinary, bought that morning for $19 at a thrift store in Wilmerding. He walked out past a bus that was loading for Harrisburg with his name on its manifest. He did not get on it. The boy's name was Elias Booker. He was 19 years old. By morning, the police in 3 counties would believe he had fled east. He would, in fact, be walking west in the rain, along the rusted spine of a B&O railbed that had not carried a train since before he was born. He would be walking toward a building everyone had already forgotten, the Petersburg Township Police Station, padlocked since 2019, the year his brother became a deputy. One vivid, uncanny detail anchored the scene at the Park and Ride. The duffel bag was theatrically empty. The 2 bricks made it sit upright, like there were clothes inside. He had arranged them that way on purpose. Elias Booker had 36 hours before the warrant went statewide. He did not need 36 hours. He needed 1 room, in 1 building, and the answer to 1 question. And the question was not whether he had robbed the Sunoco station on Route 30. He knew he had not, and the camera that should have proved it had been, the report said, malfunctioning. The question was older than that. The question was 8 months old, because in February, a Tuesday just past 9 at night, his brother Marcus had driven off a curve on Lemon Hollow Road in a county cruiser, and the state had ruled it an accident, and Elias had not believed them then, and he did not believe them now. And somewhere inside the evidence room of a station that no one was supposed to be able to enter anymore, there was a sealed cardboard box with his brother's name on the chain of custody tag, and Elias Booker, 19 years old, framed, soaked through, alone, was going to open it. But to understand the empty duffel bag at the Park and Ride, you have to understand a phone call Elias took 8 months earlier on a Tuesday at 23 minutes past 9. Elias was on his back under a 2007 Civic at the detail shop where he worked part-time, hand-buffing a wheel well, when his manager came in and said his mother was on the office line and she was crying so hard she could not say the words. Elias slid out from under the car, still holding the buffing pad. He did not put it down for an hour. It was a small habit of his, holding on to whatever was in his hands when news arrived, as if releasing it might make the news real. The official story came in pieces over the following days. Lemon Hollow Road, a curve known locally as the Elbow, 9:23 at night, Tuesday, February 6th. Single vehicle, cruiser left the road at speed. No skid marks. No alcohol. State ruled it driver error on wet asphalt. Fatigue at the end of a double shift. Closed casket, at Marcus's request, a clause in his will the funeral home would not explain. The cruiser was towed to a county yard and released for scrap. 11 days later, which Elias would learn was unusually fast. Elias had worked on Marcus's personal truck for 2 summers, and on his cruiser twice when the county shop was backed up, and he knew the way Marcus drove the Elbow because Marcus had taught him to drive it. Marcus took the Elbow at 30. Marcus took every curve at 30. Marcus had once pulled over to lecture a stranger about taking the Elbow at 30. The state's report said the cruiser had left the road at 58. Elias did not believe his brother had been going 58 on that curve any more than he believed his brother had grown wings. It was the first thing that did not match, and it would not be the last, because Elias had a mechanic's habit of seeing what did not match, and 8 months later, standing in an empty bathroom with a Greyhound ticket in his name, he was still holding on to it. Marcus had mailed Elias a letter from the police academy in 2014, when Elias was 10 years old. Little man, they make us run before sun up here, and the air smells like diesel and pine, and I am tired in a good way for the first time since Dad. I want you to know 2 things. 1. I am doing this because somebody in this family should wear the badge and mean it. 2. If I ever stop meaning it, you have my permission to come find me and tell me so. Love, your brother who is going to be a deputy. Elias was 8 months past the death, still holding on to that letter, still not believing the ruling, but with no idea what to do about it. Then came the Sunoco robbery. Tuesday, October the 17th. A clerk in Petersburg called 911 to report that a young man matching Elias's description robbed her at 8:14 in the evening. Elias was, at 8:14 in the evening, at his aunt's kitchen table in a different township, finishing a plate of pierogi. Aunt Renee would say so to anyone who would listen. The supplemental report described the surveillance system as intermittent and noted that the relevant minute was unrecoverable. A footprint in the storeroom was consistent with Elias's size. A receipt for energy drinks from earlier that week, in his name, was found discarded near the scene. Elias saw what the report was. He had watched his brother fill out enough of them to know what an honest one looked like, and what a built one looked like. The energy drink receipt had a stamped time of 6:02 in the evening, on a Sunday. He remembered buying it. He was buying it for Marcus's old shepherd mix that Marcus's widow had given him, the one that liked to lick the foil. The receipt should not have been found discarded anywhere. It had been in the glove compartment of his car, which meant somebody had been in his car. The decision crystallized. He did not go to the police because the report he was reading was written by police. He did not go to the press because he had nothing yet, only a feeling and a brother in the ground. He decided, sitting at his aunt's kitchen table, with the warrant not yet issued, but coming, to find out for himself what they had built around Marcus, and to do it by going to the one room they would not have moved the box out of, because moving it would have meant admitting it existed. He hated the thought of breaking into a police station. He had been raised, by Marcus, to believe the building was the point. He felt, the whole walk back from his aunt's house that night, that he was already proving them right. The decommissioned station was a 1962 brick rectangle on Mill Street, with an attached garage bay. Petersburg Township had voted in May 2019 to consolidate with the neighboring township's department, citing budget. The building was supposed to go to auction. It did not. It sat. Power was kept on at a reduced minimum load because the township still stored some records there. Elias knew the building because Marcus had worked out of it for 13 months before consolidation, and he had been inside twice as a teenager, once to drop off a forgotten lunch, once on a ride-along Marcus had not exactly cleared with anyone. The misdirection was built on simple mechanics. Elias bought a Greyhound ticket online in his own name, Pittsburgh to Harrisburg, Friday 4:35 in the afternoon, $58.50, paid by debit card so it would show on a trace. He told his mother, and only his mother, that he was going to stay with a cousin in Lancaster until they figured this out. She cried, told him she would call a lawyer, asked him not to do anything stupid. He kissed her forehead and lied for the second time in his life. He walked into the Monroeville Park and Ride bathroom at 4:11. He left the hoodie, the duffel, the bus ticket printout he had printed at the library. He walked out the back. He did not look at the security camera. He had already mapped it. He had a backpack with one change of clothes, 2 liters of water, a power bank, a pack of granola bars, a flashlight with a red filter, a folding multi-tool, his phone with the cellular off, his brother's GED workbook, and Marcus's 6 academy letters in a Ziploc. He believed he had 36 hours before the warrant went statewide and search radii widened. He believed the people who had built the frame would use that 36 hours to clean the station. He needed to be inside it before they were. By 8, that night, Elias Booker was standing in the gravel behind a building no one was supposed to enter anymore, looking up at a window his brother had once told him was the only one in the place that never quite latched. The building was a low brick rectangle, 2 stories on the front half, one on the back, with a flagpole the township had cut down for scrap. The window Marcus had mentioned was a frosted glass panel above the rear sallyport, 6.5 feet off the ground, the kind of pivot window that had been painted shut and reopened by every rookie who ever needed to smoke during winter shifts. Elias stacked 2 milk crates from the dumpster and a cinder block from the garden bed under the window. He pried the panel with the multi-tool. It moved. He went in head first, shoulders catching, dropping into the sallyport onto a roll of carpet someone had left on the concrete years ago. The smell hit him first. Dust and paper and old coffee that had soaked into the carpet permanently. A chemical note of stale Clorox. The dark was not total. Emergency lighting on a backup loop. Low amber glowed every 30 feet. A refrigerator-style hum sounded from somewhere upstairs, which meant something in the building was still plugged in and running. It was colder inside than outside, the way buildings get when no one is breathing in them. He moved through the sallyport into the booking corridor. He passed the empty holding cell, door propped open with a brick. He passed the dispatch alcove, where a corkboard still had the shift schedule from May 2019, pinned up Marcus's name on the Tuesday-Thursday slot, in green marker. He moved into the back hallway that led to 2 rooms, records on the left, evidence on the right. It was a steel door with a small wire glass window, and a hasp-lock that had been added after the building closed, the cheap kind, sold in any hardware store. The original lock, the real one, was untouched. Whoever had been coming back into this building had been coming back into this room, and they had not wanted to bother with the keys the township still technically held. They had put their own lock on it. Elias looked at that lock for a long time. He decided not to break the new lock yet. He went into records first, because records would tell him whether he was being paranoid or whether he was right. He was buying himself 1 more hour of being able to walk back out. Inside records were file cabinets, some emptied, some half-emptied, drawers labeled by year. He went to 2018 and 2019 first, Marcus's years here. He found Marcus's personnel file still present, which was unusual because personnel files should have moved to county HR at consolidation. Inside it was an unsigned, undated supplemental performance review, marking Marcus as demonstrating concerning behavior and recommending counseling and reassignment. It was on department letterhead. It was the only document in the file not initialed. He also found a stapled stack of incident report numbers Marcus had pulled in his final 2 months. 23 of them, annotated in the margin in Marcus's own handwriting. Check, check. Check, double check. Check, double check, check. The bolded ones, 10 of them, all evidence room intake reports. All for property that had been booked in, and according to the disposition column, released to owner. Elias did not know yet what his brother had been doing with those bolded check marks, but he knew his brother. His brother had never bolded a thing in his life that he was not certain of. His brother had been counting something, and the something he had been counting had been booked into the room across the hall. The dog came in then. Sergeant was the shepherd mix that had been Marcus's, that Marcus's widow had handed Elias at the funeral because she could not bear to keep him. Elias had left a back kitchen window open for the dog months ago, and never closed it, and the dog came and went on his own. Tonight, somehow the dog had followed Elias into the station. The dog must have tracked him from the rail bed. He padded into records, ribs visible from a week of not eating right, and sat down next to Elias's boot. Elias did not cry. He put his hand on the dog's head. He said, "Hey, Sergeant." The dog leaned into his knee. It was the first thing in 8 months that had felt like Marcus was still in the room. Marcus's second letter, from 2015, just after academy graduation, surfaced in Elias's memory. "Little man, I passed. I am a sworn deputy of the county now, and I do not know whether to be proud or scared. I will tell you what they told us on the last day. The badge is heavier than it looks. They mean it physically. It also means something else. Watch the people who wear it like it is light. Those are the ones I am going to have to be careful of." While Elias was reading Marcus's annotated stack by flashlight, the hum upstairs changed. It had been a refrigerator hum. Now it was a different hum, a fan kicking on. Something HVAC adjacent. The building had just been told, by something or someone, to circulate air. He turned the flashlight off. He listened. A car door, faint. From the front of the building, the parking lot side. Not the rear. The front. Someone with the front gate key. Elias crouched beside the file cabinet, with one hand on the dog's collar, and one hand on his brother's letter, and he listened to the sound of a man walking up to a building no one was supposed to enter anymore, with a key, at 9 o'clock at night, On the Friday, a warrant had gone out for a robbery that never happened. And he understood, in that crouch, with that cold seeping up through his knees, that he had been right. He had been right about everything. And being right was going to be the most dangerous thing he had ever been in his life. He would not leave. He could not leave through the front. He could not leave through the sally port without being seen if the man came around. He moved himself and the dog into the only room with a lock he could throw from the inside, a janitor's closet across from the evidence room. He pulled the door almost shut. He waited. The man who came in the front did not stay long. Elias heard him walk down the back hallway, key the new hasp lock, go into the evidence room, move something, come out, relock. 17 minutes by Elias's count on the second hand of his watch. The man left out the front. A car started. The car drove away. Elias waited 40 more minutes. Then he came out of the closet. The new hasp lock was a cheap brass padlock. He had a multi-tool. It took him 8 minutes. He was inside the evidence room. The evidence room was smaller than he had expected, about the size of his mother's living room, and it was almost empty. Steel shelving along 3 walls, most of it bare. A few boxes stacked on the bottom shelves, the kind of forgotten ends that get left behind when a department moves out. A long table down the center. A logbook open on the table. And on the floor under the table, pushed against the back wall as if someone had been trying to keep it out of casual sight, a single sealed cardboard box with red evidence tape across the seam, and a chain of custody tag tied to the corner with twine. The tag read, Case number 190814. Complainant or subject Booker M. Deputy. Date booked 0207. Booking officer Bostic C. Sergeant. Disposition hold internal. It had been booked the day after Marcus died. Elias cut the tape. He used Marcus's old academy letter to wipe his prints off the blade afterward, then thought better of it and put the letter back in the ziplock. Because if this ever saw a courtroom, he wanted the letter in the letter and the prints where they fall. He opened the box. Inside were Marcus's department-issued duty belt, holster empty. The sidearm was not here. Marcus's body-worn camera was there, missing its battery and with the SD slot empty. A clear plastic bag contained what Elias recognized as the remains of Marcus's personal phone. Screen shattered, board exposed. Marcus's wallet was there. Marcus's wedding ring was there, in a small manila coin envelope. A folded copy of the at-scene report from Lemon Hollow Road was there, and on top of all of it, as if placed there last, was a sealed white legal-size envelope with Marcus's handwriting on the outside. It read, If found by my brother, M. Elias picked up the envelope. He held it for a long time. The dog watched him hold it. Somewhere outside an owl made the sound owls make in October, and a truck moved down a road 2 miles away, and the building hummed its low hum. And Elias Booker, 19 years old, held an envelope his brother had written for him, from beyond a curve in a road no one should have left at 58. He put the envelope in the inside pocket of the grey jacket, against his chest. He took one more thing out of the box first. Marcus's GED workbook, the one Marcus had used to study before the academy. It had been in the cruiser. It was here now. Marcus's third letter, from 2016, after his first year on patrol, echoed the strangeness of finding it here. Little man, I am writing this from a Denny's at 3 in the morning because I cannot sleep yet. Today I watched a sergeant fill out a report that did not match what I saw, and I signed it anyway because I am a year on the job, and he is 12, and that is how it works. Tonight I cannot sleep. I want you to know I am going to figure out how to be a deputy and also a person. I do not know yet which one I have to be louder about. Elias took the workbook with him. The workbook was heavier than it should have been. Before leaving the evidence room, Elias picked up the logbook on the center table. He opened it on the floor of the janitor's closet, with the dog leaning against his leg and the flashlight on its red filter. The logbook was a standard chain of custody book, pre-printed columns, hand-filled lines. The first entries were from 2017 through 2019, the years the station was active. They were unremarkable. Then, on a page after a blank spread, the entries resumed after the station closed. Same book. The first was June 14th, 2019. Bostic C. Retrieve. Case 181102. Returned same day. September 3rd, 2019. Holcomb R. Retrieve. Case 19-211. No return entry. November 20th, 2019. Bostic C. Deposit. No case number. April 7th, 2020. Wexler D. Deposit. Case 20066. No return entry. February 7th of this year. Bostic C. Deposit. Case 190814. Hold internal. October 19th of this year. 2 days before the Sunoco robbery. Holcomb R. Retrieve. Case 190814. Returned same day. 3 names. Bostic, Holcomb, Wexler. Holcomb. Elias recognized the name. Lieutenant Ray Holcomb had been Marcus's watch commander. Holcomb had given the eulogy at the funeral. Holcomb had retired the same month Marcus died and run for county commissioner. 2 months later, unopposed, on a platform of respect for law enforcement. Holcomb had stood in the Booker's kitchen and told Elias's mother that Marcus had been one of the finest young men he had ever supervised. Holcomb had retrieved Marcus's evidence box 2 days before someone planted a receipt in Elias's car. Elias wrote on a scrap of receipt paper that they had been using this building like a private safe deposit for 4 years. They had been taking things in and out without case oversight. They had been doing it as themselves, signing their own names, because no one was watching the book, and one of them had opened Marcus's box right before they framed him. Marcus's 4th letter, from 2017, his 2nd year on patrol, whispered in Elias's ear. "Little man, I am keeping a notebook, not the department one. My own. Mom says you are turning into a real mechanic, and that you fixed her dryer with a bobby pin and a YouTube video. And I want you to know that pride is a renewable resource, and I have more of it for you tonight than I had this morning. Keep your hands on things. Hands on things keeps your head clear." Elias remembered the workbook. He picked it up. He looked at the spine. Not well. Not well enough to fool a boy who had spent his life noticing what did not match. Elias took the multi-tool to the spine of the GED workbook in the janitor's closet, by red filter flashlight, with the dog watching, with the building humming, with the rain starting against the high windows. Inside the spine, wedged into a hollow Marcus had carved with, Elias could see the marks, the same multi-tool, was a single micro SD card in a small piece of folded foil. Elias had his phone. His phone was off. He turned it on with the cellular and Wi-Fi already disabled, set to airplane mode before leaving Monroeville, and he slotted the card into the adapter that lived on his keychain. He waited for it to mount. He plugged in earbuds. The card contained a folder titled, "If I am wrong, delete this." There were 41 photos, all of the evidence room from various angles and dates, all with date-stamped EXIF data. There were 14 scanned documents. Intake forms compared against disposition reports, side by side, showing items booked in, a Bushmaster carbine, 2 handguns, a tray of estate jewelry from a 2018 burglary, a stamped pad of blank prescription forms from a closed pharmacy, and never lawfully out. And there was one audio file labeled with a timestamp, 0206-1942, 3 hours before Marcus left the road. Elias's hand shook as he tapped it. Marcus's voice filled his ear, recording in what sounded like the front seat of his cruiser, engine off. "This is Deputy Marcus Booker, badge 4471. The date is the 6th of February. The time is 7:42. I have copies of everything in 3 places, and one of them is with my brother, and he does not know it yet, because if he knew it, he would worry. I am driving to meet Ray Holcomb tonight at 9. He told me he wants to talk before I take this to the state. I am going to give him one chance to walk it back. If he does not..." The file ended there. Cut. Not stopped. Cut. Elias played it again. The waveform on the screen ended mid-syllable. Someone had trimmed the file. The original had been longer. This was what Marcus had time to keep. 3 hours before Marcus left the road, Marcus had been on his way to meet Lieutenant Ray Holcomb. The meeting had been Holcomb's idea. Marcus had said he had copies in 3 places, and one of them was with my brother, and he does not know it yet. Marcus had hidden the card in the workbook Marcus knew their mother would eventually give Elias. Marcus had given the workbook to their mother years earlier, as the thing I want little man to have when he goes back to school. Their mother had given it to Elias the week of the funeral. Elias had had the card in his bedroom for 8 months without knowing it. He had been 10 feet from the truth for 8 months, and he had not opened the spine of a book his brother had told him to keep. The dog leaned his entire weight against Elias's leg. Elias did not cry. He breathed in through his nose for a count of 4 like Marcus had taught him when he was 11, and angry at the world. Marcus's 5th letter from 2017, a single page held the instruction. Little man, if anything ever happens to me, do not believe the first story they tell you. Do not believe the second one either. Listen for the one no one is telling, and follow it home. Elias decided he could not leave the station with the card on him and risk being stopped on the way out. He would copy the card. He would hide the original here, in a place he knew the ring did not check. He would leave with copies, he would get the copies to one person, and that one person would not be a Petersburg cop. He thought of his Aunt Renee. He thought of his mother. He thought, finally and reluctantly, of someone Marcus had mentioned in one of his letters as the only outside investigator I would trust if it came to it. A name in the last letter, a name he had never followed up on. Detective Yolanda Reeves, State Police, Criminal Investigations. He put the card in his sock, and then, through the cold air vent in the closet wall, he heard a man laugh. Sometime past midnight, Elias's watch read 12:38. A second car pulled into the front lot. 2 men this time. Elias heard the front door. 2 sets of boots, the new hasp lock being keyed open, the evidence room door swinging, and then voices. He could not hear them clearly through the wall, but the janitor's closet shared a wall with the evidence room, and along the bottom of that wall ran an old steam radiator return line with a vent cover so loose it could be slid with one finger. Elias was on his stomach, ear to the vent, the dog with his nose pressed against the same wall. One of the men was on speakerphone. Elias identified 3 voices over the next 11 minutes. Voice A was in the room, calm, older, slow cadence. Elias recognized it from the eulogy, Holcomb. Voice B was in the room, younger, anxious, breathing too fast. Lieutenant, the box is wrong. The tape is cut. Somebody's been in here. Voice C was on speakerphone, irritated, a man's voice forcing patience. Ray, Ray, Ray. Calm. The Booker kid is in Lancaster by now. The bus pinged Harrisburg at 6. You said yourself, Holcomb said. Bus ping doesn't mean a thing, Ed. Anybody can buy a ticket. Ed said, anybody can. A scared 19-year-old framed for armed robbery, he's on that bus. Or he's at his aunt's, in which case Bostic picks him up Sunday. Wexler said, Lieutenant, somebody opened the box. The tape, Holcomb said. I heard you. I see it. Wexler said, the workbook is gone. Holcomb said, I see that too. Ed said, what workbook? Holcomb said, nothing. Wexler said, Lieutenant, what if? A long pause. A scrape of cardboard. The sound of someone walking around the table once, twice. Holcomb, quieter now, said, Ed, we need to bring the box out tonight. The whole box. We burn it at the farm, Ed said. You said the box was the safest place for it. Holcomb said, the box was the safest place. Now the box has been opened. The safest place is the burn pit. Tonight. Ed said, then go, Holcomb said. I will come back at 0600. I want it clean. Wexler said, Sir, about the kid. Holcomb said, Bostic will handle the kid. Wexler said, handle how? Silence. Holcomb said, Daniel, you want it in. You are in. Go home. Sleep. Be at my office at 7. Footsteps. Door. Hasp. Footsteps. Cars. 2 cars. Gone. Elias now knew 3 names. Holcomb the lead. Wexler the young one. The breakable one. Bostic the one who would handle the kid. A 4th voice was Ed. Ed was on the phone. Ed was the one giving cover. Ed was, almost certainly, Mayor Ed Harnack, now County Commissioner Harnack, the man who had been mayor when the station closed, and who had appointed Holcomb to the planning board the year after. The plan was to come back at 6 in the morning and burn the box at the farm. The risk was that Bostic would be coming for Elias tonight or tomorrow. Wexler did not know they were planning to handle him. Wexler was breakable, Marcus's 6th letter, from 2017, the one Elias had read most often since the funeral, held the final instruction. Little man, I am writing this on the assumption I will never need to send it, and that you will find it one day in a shoebox and laugh at me for being dramatic. But on the chance I am not being dramatic, you are the most patient person I have ever known. You can sit under a car for 4 hours figuring out one click. If something happens to me, do not be a hero. Be patient. Be the boy under the car, find the click. And when you find it, do not tell the people who broke the car. Tell somebody outside. Your brother. Forever. Elias had until 6 in the morning to leave with the truth and bring back the right people. He had the dog, the card, the workbook, the envelope, and a 5.5-hour window in which a sergeant named Bostic was looking for him. He pushed open the Sallyport window from the inside at 1:22 in the morning, and he handed the dog through first, and then he climbed up onto a filing cabinet and pulled himself through, and as his boot hit the gravel he heard, half a mile away, the low diesel grumble of a pickup truck slowing on Mill Street. And he understood that Sergeant Bostic had not waited for the morning. We are about to walk with Elias through the longest 5 hours of his life. And what he found in the evidence room only matters if you, watching this, get to see how he uses it. If you want to stay with this story to the end, and to find the next one we tell, the small black button under this video keeps the channel telling them. We do not run on luck. We run on the people who choose to be here. Decide now, while the rain is still falling on Mill Street. You have heard what he heard through the vent. Would you run east toward your aunt's, or west toward a state police detective you have never met? Tell me, in one word, before the next scene starts. What Marcus Booker had figured out, and what the micro SD card now in his brother's sock could prove, was small and ordinary and very old. Petersburg Township sat at the intersection of 3 jurisdictions and 1 interstate ramp, which meant a lot of property. Stolen guns, stolen jewelry, stolen prescription forms from a pharmacy that had closed in the consolidation year, passed through its evidence room. Most of it was supposed to be inventoried, held and either returned, destroyed or transferred to the state. Some of it was. Some of it, between 2015 and the day the station closed, was not. Some of it was booked in by Sergeant Carl Bostic, listed in the disposition column as released to owner, and then carried out the back door by Lieutenant Ray Holcomb, who had a cousin who ran a pawn auction in Westmoreland County, and another contact further east, who did not ask questions about cereals. Officer Danny Wexler, 2 years on the job, $60,000 in medical debt for his daughter's surgeries, had been told the ring was clean-up money and that the property was either unclaimable or going to be destroyed anyway. He had signed where he was told to sign. He had, in his own way, believed them. When the station was voted closed in 2019, the simplest thing in the world was to keep the room. Power minimum loaded, records technically present. Building never auctioned. Holcomb had a key. So did Bostic. So, after a while, did Wexler. The book was the book. The room was the room. The 4 years between the closure and tonight, they had used the dead station as their own bank. Marcus had figured it out by counting. He had pulled 23 of Bostic's intake reports across his last 2 months on the job, and found 10 where the property booked in did not match the property recorded out. He had written little check marks in the margin, and bolded 10 of them. He had built a folder on a card no one knew existed. And he had made the mistake, the only mistake Elias would ever forgive him for, because it was the mistake of a young deputy, who still believed in the building, of telling Ray Holcomb, on a Tuesday in February, that he was going to take it to the state on Wednesday morning. Holcomb had asked Marcus to come talk to him first. Marcus had agreed. Marcus had taken the elbow on Lemon Hollow Road at 30 miles an hour, the way he took every curve, 8 months ago, and the cruiser had left the road at 58. The state had said, although it had left no skid marks, and nobody had asked why a man who knew that curve and drove it at 30 was being clocked at 58 by an instrument no one had ever produced for inspection. Sergeant Carl Bostic had been the first officer on the scene. Sergeant Carl Bostic had booked the evidence. The state had ruled it an accident. The state had been wrong. Elias and the dog moved along the railbed toward a sheets 2 miles east, where there was still, Elias remembered from a road trip with Marcus, a working payphone. The diesel pickup searched the road above them. Bostic, Elias was certain it was Bostic, was looking for him along the road, not the railbed. The railbed was overgrown. Bostic did not know Marcus had taught Elias to walk it. 1:38 in the morning, Elias and the dog reached the sheets at the intersection of Mill and Old Route 30. It was lit. It was open 24 hours. He could not go inside. He was on the warrant. The payphone was at the edge of the lot, half hidden by a dumpster enclosure. 1:41, he dialed his aunt's house, collect from memory. 1:42. She picked up on the second ring like she had been waiting. Elias, baby, where are you? Your mama is, Elias, where are you? He gave her the cross streets. 20 minutes. Do not call anyone. Do not tell his mother yet. 2:04, Aunt Renee's blue Camry came around the corner with the headlights off the last 100 yards. She had the brain for this. She had always had the brain for this. In the front seat, dog in the back, Elias said, Aunt Renee, I need you to take me to Greensburg. She said, Why Greensburg, baby? He said, Marcus had a name in his last letter, a state police detective, Reeves. He said if anything ever happened, that was the one to trust. She said, You have proof. He said, Yes. She said, How much? He said, Enough to bury a county commissioner. Aunt Renee put her hands on the wheel, and she did not ask another question. She took Old Route 30 east, at exactly the speed limit, because she knew 2 unlit county cruisers were out tonight, and they were not looking for a 56-year-old nurse's aide in a blue Camry. At 2:31 in the morning, on the long stretch past the reservoir, a pair of headlights pulled onto the road behind them and matched their speed. 400 yards of road passed with no dialogue, only Elias watching the side mirror, and Aunt Renee not moving her eyes from the road, and the dog standing up in the back seat and putting his head between the front seats. The headlights dropped back, turned off. A driveway, not a cruiser, a delivery van. Aunt Renee exhaled, Honey, I am going to need you to never do this to me again. He said, I promise. She said, Don't lie to me. He said, I won't. Greensburg, 4:12 in the morning. The State Police Barracks on Donahoe Road. Aunt Renee parked across the street. Elias hesitated. He was walking into a police building voluntarily, on a warrant, with a card in his sock and a dead brother in his pocket. Marcus had said in his recording, I have copies of everything in 3 places. Aunt Renee went in first. She was a civilian. She was not on any warrant. She was a black woman of 56, in a quilted coat, asking by name for Detective Yolanda Reeves. She told the desk sergeant she would wait. She told him she was willing to wait until 8. She told him it was about Deputy Marcus Booker. The desk sergeant paused when she said the name. He remembered the name. The accident had been on the regional news. Detective Reeves came in at 5:08, off duty, called from home, in jeans and a department fleece. She was late 40s, black, soft-spoken, with eyes that moved once across Aunt Renee, and once across the door behind Aunt Renee, the kind of person who walks into a room and counts exits without thinking. Aunt Renee said 4 sentences, Reeves said. 1, bring him in. Elias came in with the dog. The dog was not allowed in the barracks. Nobody mentioned the dog. In a small windowless interview room at 5:21 in the morning, Elias played the voice memo for Detective Reeves on his phone. She listened to it twice. She did not speak through either play. At the end of the second play, she opened a drawer in the table that had a notebook in it, and she wrote 1 word. Elias could not see what. And then she stood up and she said, Stay here, both of you. Eat something. Do not leave this room. I am going to make 3 phone calls. The first call was to the State Police Commander for Criminal Investigations, asking for a warrant team and a search warrant on the decommissioned Petersburg station, executable before dawn. The second was to the county DA, not the local DA, the one across the state line who had no business with Holcomb, to be primed. The third was to a federal contact at the ATF, because 3 of the items in the SD card photo logs were stolen long guns, and that made it federal. She came back at 5:47. She said one more sentence. Your warrant is cancelled as of 40 seconds ago. The robbery report has been pulled for review. We are going back to Petersburg. You are coming with us, because we need you to show us where the original card is hidden in that building. You will not be charged with anything. Do you understand me? Elias understood. At 5:59 in the morning, 3 state police vehicles rolled west on Old Route 30, with their lights off. And Elias Booker rode in the back of the lead one, with a dog at his feet and an unopened envelope still in his inside pocket. And the sky over Petersburg Township was beginning for the first time in a long time to come up clear. 6:47 in the morning, state police vehicles positioned, one at the rear Sallyport, one at the front lot, one staged half a block down Mill Street behind the boarded-up bakery. Elias pointed out to Reeves where the original card was hidden. He had jammed it inside the hollow of a steel chair leg in the dispatch alcove, knowing Bostic would never sit in dispatch. Reeves's team recovered the card. They photographed everything. They retaped the box. At 7:04 in the morning, Lieutenant Ray Holcomb, retired, county commissioner, drove his personal F-250 into the front lot of the Petersburg Township police station. He was alone. He was carrying a 5-gallon plastic gas can. He walked to the front door. He keyed the hasp. He stepped inside. Holcomb stopped 4 steps into the front lobby, with the gas can still in his right hand, and he did not say anything for the better part of 7 seconds. And then he set the can down, slowly, on the floor. The way a man sets down something he has just realized is heavier than he can keep holding. Detective Reeves did not raise her voice. Detective Reeves did not draw her sidearm. Detective Reeves said, "Ray, sit down on that bench. Sit down on it now." He sat. At 7:11, Sergeant Carl Bostic was arrested at his home on Walnut Lane. At 7:48, Officer Danny Wexler was arrested in the parking lot of Holcomb's commissioner office, where Holcomb had told him to be at 7, having waited there since 6:30. Wexler did not resist. Wexler asked, twice, whether his daughter was okay. He was told she was. He said, "Okay, I'll tell you everything." At 9:22, County Commissioner Ed Harnack was served at his home, where he had not yet had his coffee. It is 11:14 in the morning in a small office at the Greensburg Barracks. The building has gone quiet. Detective Reeves has left Elias alone for 10 minutes. Aunt Renee has fallen asleep upright in a hallway chair. The dog is asleep on Elias's feet. The envelope from the evidence box, if found by my brother M, is still in his jacket. He takes it out. He opens it. Little man. If you are reading this, I did not figure out how to make Wednesday morning happen, and I am sorry. I am sorry the most, because Mom is going to take it the hardest, and you are going to feel like you have to be the man of the house at 19, and you are not going to want to be, and you are going to be anyway, because that is who you have always been. Here is what I want you to know. I did not do anything heroic. I counted. I counted 23 reports, and 10 of them were wrong, and I told the wrong man I had counted them. I made one stupid mistake, and the mistake was that I still believed the building meant what it said on the side. Do not make that mistake. Do not make the opposite mistake either. The building is a building. The people inside it are people. Some of them are like Aunt Renee, and some of them are like Ray Holcomb, and your whole life is going to be figuring out which is which. I left you the card because you are the only person I trust to use it slow. Do not run with it. Do not post it. Do not give it to a newspaper. Find one person outside the system who is inside the larger one. Reeves, if she is still in Greensburg. She and I worked one case in 2018, and she is the only cop I have ever met who walked into a room and counted the exits before she counted the people. Take care of Mom. Take care of the dog. Finish the certification. Open the shop. Name it whatever you want. Do not name it after me. Name it after yourself. You are the one who is going to be there every morning, not me. I love you, little man. I am proud of you. I have been proud of you since you were 6 years old and you took apart the toaster to see how it worked and put it back together and it's still toasted. That is the whole job. Take it apart, put it back, make it work. Marcus. Forever your brother. Badge 4471, until they melt it down. He read it twice. Then he folded it back into the envelope, and he put the envelope back in the inside pocket of the grey jacket, against his chest, where it had been the whole long night. In the weeks following, the Sunoco robbery charge was dismissed within 48 hours. The clerk recanted under questioning. She had been paid $400 by a man matching Bostic's description to call it in. Holcomb was charged federally with conspiracy, trafficking in stolen firearms, and after Wexler's full statement, with conspiracy in the death of Deputy Marcus Booker. He pleaded not guilty. The federal case took 19 months. He was convicted on 12 counts, Bostic pleaded out. He gave investigators the location of the storage unit in Latrobe, where most of the unmoved property still sat, and the names of 2 buyers across the state line. He got 15 years. Wexler cooperated fully. He got 7. Ed Harnack resigned the county commission within a week. He was charged separately, state level, with abuse of office. He fought it. He lost. Marcus Booker's case was reopened. The cause of death ruling was amended. The cruiser, long since scrapped, could not be recovered. The amended ruling was based on Bostic's plea and Marcus's recording. The state issued no public apology. The Booker family did not ask for one. When Diane Booker finally heard the voice memo of her older son saying, "I have copies of everything in 3 places, and one of them is with my brother," she sat in her kitchen with her hand over her mouth for a long time. And then she stood up, and she walked into Elias's bedroom, and she sat down on his bed, and she put her hand on his back, and she said, "You did good, baby. You did right by him. Now go to sleep." 11 months later, the civil settlement came through, $240,000 from the township and the county. Elias gave a third to his mother. He gave a third to Aunt Renee, who refused it, and he left the check on her kitchen counter and walked out before she could hand it back. He kept the last third. He finished the ASE certification track at the community college in Monroeville. He passed the brakes module, the engines module. The electrical module was the one that took him 3 tries. In the spring of the next year, he leased a 1-bay garage on Mill Street, 6 blocks down from the decommissioned police station, which had, since the case closed, been bought at auction by a regional library that intended to make it a branch and had already pried the boards off the windows. He called the garage Booker and Sargent Automotive. The sergeant was the dog. The dog slept on a folded blanket behind the counter, and was, according to a small handwritten sign by the door, not for sale at any price. Marcus's badge, number 4471, was mailed to Elias from the state at the close of the case, in a small wooden frame, with a typed note that said only return to next of kin. Elias hung it above the cash register. Beneath it, in his own handwriting, on an index card, were the words, "Take it apart, put it back, make it work." Aunt Renee brought him pierogi on Thursdays. His mother brought him a thermos of coffee on her way to the early shift at the hospital. 2 mornings a week, and she always pretended she had an extra one in the car. Detective Yolanda Reeves came once, the first month, to drop off a sealed manila envelope she said had been entered into evidence and then released to next of kin once the federal case had taken its own custody chain. The envelope contained one item, a micro SD card in a small piece of folded foil in a clear plastic bag with a chain of custody tag that read, "Returned." Elias did not look at it. He put it in the drawer under the cash register, the one that does not have a key. He goes weeks without thinking about it. He thinks about it now and then. There is a duffel bag behind the counter at Booker and Sargent Automotive. It is the same grey canvas duffel Elias Booker left in a Greyhound bathroom in Monroeville on the last Friday of October. 2 years ago, the Pennsylvania State Police recovered it as evidence the morning the warrant was cancelled. They returned it, eventually, after everything with the tag still tied to the handle. Elias took the tag off. He did not throw out the bag. He uses it now to carry a clean coverall and a thermos, and on Fridays, when his mother works the late shift and he drives across town to eat with her at midnight, a Tupperware of whatever Aunt Renee sent over. He does not put bricks in it anymore. He does not need to make it sit upright. It sits upright on its own because there is something inside it. His brother's letters are not in it. His brother's letters are in a wooden box at the foot of his bed, and the wooden box is the one Marcus made in shop class in 10th grade, with a sliding lid that does not quite close. The voice memo is not in the duffel either. The voice memo is on 3 different drives in 3 different places, because Marcus had said that was how you did it. What is in the duffel is the workbook, the GED workbook with the re-glued spine. The hollow inside the spine is empty now. There is nothing in there but air and dust, and the marks of a multitool that belonged to a deputy who took every curve at 30. Elias keeps the workbook in the duffel because the duffel had once been a lie, and the workbook had once been a hiding place. And he likes the idea that the 2 of them sit now behind the counter of a garage on Mill Street, being only what they are, a bag for clean coveralls, a book to study from. He is going to take the GED test next spring. He does not need to. He has the certification, and the shop and the badge above the register. He is going to take it anyway, he told his mother. She cried, and then she did not cry. If you stop into Booker and Sargent Automotive on a Tuesday, and Elias is not at the counter, he is probably under a car. The dog will be at the door. The dog is named Sargent, for a reason Elias does not have to explain to anybody. Marcus would have liked the dog. Marcus had always liked the dog. And on the wall, the badge stays where it is.